The U.S. Department of Defense has given AI firm Anthropic an ultimatum: open its artificial intelligence technology for broader military use or risk losing its government contract. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth met with the Anthropic CEO Dario Amodei and set a Friday deadline to waive certain ethical restrictions on how the company's AI model Claude may be used. The Pentagon is pushing for fewer limits on its use of Claude, including for classified military tasks, and has warned it could designate Anthropic a supply chain risk or invoke the Defense Production Act if the company does not comply.
The feud between the Pentagon and AI giant Anthropic is escalating. The Department of War is reportedly threatening to cut ties with the company over restrictions on how their AI model, Claude, can be used by the military. Anthropic does not want its technology used for domestic surveillance or autonomous lethal activities. But the Pentagon says rivals like OpenAI, Google, and xAI have agreed to give the military full access to their models.
Anthropic's usage policies currently prohibit Claude from being used for fully autonomous weapons and mass surveillance of U.S. citizens. The company has refused to remove those safeguards. Tensions intensified after Claude was reportedly used in the U.S. military operation that captured Venezuelan leader Nicolas Maduro, illustrating how Pentagon reliance on the model has grown, even as the company maintains strict usage principles. This is where technology, ethics, and national security collide. Anthropic built Claude with what it calls ethical guardrails, clear red lines against fully autonomous weapons and domestic surveillance. That was a selling point for many customers. Then the Pentagon began using Claude in classified missions, including planning for the operation in Venezuela that captured Nicolas Maduro, showing how useful the technology can be in real-world defense work. Now Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth is basically saying, take off the limits or we'll cut you off. That raises the obvious question: should a private company's ethical stance be overridden when it bumps into military needs? National security leaders argue they need tools they can use for any lawful purpose, especially as global powers race to integrate AI into defense. A company like Anthropic worries that removing safeguards could make the technology that should help humanity become something that can harm it, especially if those systems start making decisions without human oversight. So where do we draw the line between ethical responsibility and military capability? If companies abandon guardrails to satisfy every defense request, what does that do to public trust? And if governments demand unchecked access to powerful AI, what does that do to privacy, civil liberties, and the very norms that distinguish open societies from the adversaries they claim to oppose? How we resolve this and what rules Congress, companies, and the Pentagon agree on will shape not just defense policy, but how societies balance power, technology, and human values in an AI era. Let me know your thoughts.